Good evening. I'm Kate Anslinger. I'm here at 7 Somerset Ave in Winthrop Center, and I'm here talking to Michael Lacerdo about Incubate Space. Michael, can you tell us a little bit about how you came up with the idea for the space and what's it like? What happens on an average day in here?
So I came up with the space a couple years ago during a fun employment stint. In between jobs, I was hanging out at Winthrop Beach and thinking about all these different spaces, these co-working spaces I had worked out of in my career in international education. And had remembered that there were so many people in Winthrop who had actually asked my father, who owns the building, when Sweat's Bakery went out, if he had a small office space for someone to work at. And so everyone would come in and says, you have a small office space, but of course we didn't have one. We had 1,100 square feet of what used to be a bakery. And then I thought, why not create this space as a co-working space for Winthrop and a hub for entrepreneurs to gather in town in the center.
Well, it's a perfect space here. And what kind of, employees do you have that actually come in here? What type of jobs do they work?
So the space is actually anchored with Robert Paul Properties. There are 10 real estate agents working out of the space. We also have a writer, you, and we have people from the IT profession, social media marketing, advertising, even some graduate students and someone who was studying for the firefighter's exam coming to use this space as a place to study. So it's really all over the map. Anyone from your graduate student, working person, or someone just working on their side hustle or their professional career.
Quite the mix of people. I also heard that you do speaking engagements in the evenings and host other events. So if someone was interested in, say, renting the space, that's a possibility?
Yes, so the space is meant to be a community space, not only for professionals, but also for community activity. So if it's something that maybe your business wants to run an event out of our space or out of the conference room, they can do that. Or if you have a community group that is looking for a space to host an activity, an event, whether it be a fundraiser. We did a great fundraiser for CASA within the space. We've also had a speaker series basically built on trying to improve people's professional development. So one is like best practices of social media marketing. Another one was best practices of networking. And so, again, it's sort of all over the map, but meant to be a community space that is shared for anyone who may need a space to meet and gather and talk with other people.
Wonderful. Let's get a tour of the space.
Sounds great. All right, everybody, welcome to Incubate. Here we are outside at 7 Somerset, and the place is packed with technology. So even the door is electronically fired. So you get a little app, we do a little swipe, and we go. I'll take you for a tour. So, welcome. This is the front area here where it's set up more or less like a cafe. So you can see all the different tables here are all sit to stand, so they're adjustable. And we try to keep the cafe setting very much almost like an art gallery. So as you can see on the walls here, we're featuring right now the work of Richard Honan and his driftwood collages. And we've also tried to blend the modern look and technology with a lot of the old. So for those of you who aren't familiar, 7 Somerset was a bakery for almost 110 years. So it was Sweat's Bakery, Fabiano's, the Krusty Crumpet, among others. And so there's a lot of nods to this, in the space to the bakery itself, and I'll show you all those little intricacies. What we've also tried to do is rehab up as much of the old look as we can. So that's a 110-year-old original tin ceiling that's been brought back to life, as well as the brick walls and the original wooden floor, which is neat. So let me take you through a little bit more of the space. Like I said, there's a lot of nods to the history of it being a bakery. So all the rooms that people can work out of are named after the bakers and the bakers' wives that ran the bakery. So the first one we have here is Pearl. And Pearl is our whiteboard room. So if you take a peek in here, we have one of our members, Kate Anslinger, in here working away on the whiteboard.
The great thing about this whiteboard space is when I'm in the middle of working on a plot or some character descriptions, I can just hop on up and go to work.
Very cool. Awesome. Now we also have Denise and Dolores over here. These are both individual workrooms. So they come with a chair, a little standing mat for people, and then again the adjustable seats. So they're a nice little space for people to work in quiet by themselves if they need to make private phone calls, etc. Fabiana room is our conference room. And here's one of our members, Jonathan Lemaster.
Hello.
Go ahead and introduce yourself, Jonathan.
Hey, Jonathan Lemaster from Lemaster Solutions. I'm your digital Sherpa, guiding you to the pinnacle of your web and mobile marketing or business automation needs.
Wonderful. Jonathan has a meeting in the space in just a few minutes with another entrepreneur in town, Katie's Kitchen. So he's just prepping right now to help her with her website. And as you can see here, we've got this very large screen TV.
It's the Incubate website.
It's our Incubate website that Jonathan helped me build. So if you've seen incubatecoworking.com, you can see Jonathan's work right up there on the web. We also have a webcam up there for people who want to do webinars or any sort of Skype calls with people from all over the world. So this is a really nice conference room for people to rent for business meetings, or if they're just tired of meeting people at a cafe or at their homes and cleaning up beforehand and they need a professional space to come meet someone, they can come down here and do that. So
24/7 access, gotta love it.
So moving along, here we have our printers here. So we've got a color printer, a printer scanner, copier, and no space would be complete without all the different supplies. So we've got all our pens, pencils, staplers, chargers for various different devices, adapters, everything that you can possibly need. As you can imagine, so many times people run out of their house for business meetings and they forget like their one piece of technology that we need. So we store it all here, as well as a little library of entrepreneurial books. We do have our little corkboard over here where we put announcements and various other items for people within the space. And like I said, we try to preserve as much history as we can. So over here are these two sit-to-stand desks, but we also got a whole bunch of old black and white photographs of different businesses within the center, with the whole hope that if this is going to be an entrepreneurial space, we should also nod to the history of the entrepreneurs that were here before us. So it gives a nice little context. And these various different quotes that you see on here are actually quotes that we found from postcards that people had sent from Winthrop from like 1910, 1911, somewhere in there. So apple pie without cheese is like love without a squeeze. It's kind of funny since this used to be a bakery. And the other quote I really like, Winthrop is a living show with continuous reels, which I think is really, really funny. You know, sometimes the reels are comedy and sometimes they're horror, but you know, things keep going. So here we are. The last little bit of our space is the lounge. And here we have Stephen Hines from Robert Paul Properties.
Hi there. So Steve Hines, Robert Paul Properties. We were one of the founding members, and I think we're the largest cohort of professionals in the space. Robert Paul has 9 real estate agents now that focus on Winthrop and Revere that work out of this space. And I think one of the best things about it is our ability to collaborate with all the other members. Kate, who you met before, we've collaborated on lots of different projects since we've both started in this space, and we work in totally different industries. And I think a lot of times in real estate offices, you don't get that collaboration because all you see are other real estate agents. This has been a really great opportunity for us, and it's a really cool space. So we really enjoy it.
Cool, thank you, Stephen.
You're very welcome.
And so here's a couple more nods to the bakery. This mantle over here on the fireplace is actually an old cookie sheet that was left behind that we carved up and made into the mantle for the fireplace. And for those of you who are craving the old Sweat's chocolate chip cookie recipe, we actually have it decoupaged in here in this art piece that Joanna Champa created for us. Along with a number of other articles from Winthrop and, again, all those different postcards that I mentioned where we got some of the quotes. We photocopied all those and decoupaged them into this fireplace over here in the lounge. Lastly, we have the Sabbath room. It's a little small meeting room for 3 people over here. you might be wondering what these little iPads are there on the side of each of the rooms, and they actually are our room booking system. So each one of these rooms, again with the naming convention, is on an app called Roomzilla. So all our various different members can access this at home or while they're in the space to book a room if they're going to meet with a client. So if someone calls and they're actually off-site and they say, can I meet you down in the space at 2 o'clock, you can easily go on the app on your phone and figure out if there's a room available for someone to book and come on down. So these little iPads, if you're looking at in the space, tell you when the room's booked and when it's not, and when you can just jump in and use it on your own. Other than that, we've got a really funky fixture that everyone really likes in our fun little bathroom. It's rare that you get a tour of a bathroom in a video, but this is actually the Dyson paperless sink. So many of you have probably seen those different Dyson air blades that are usually mounted on the wall and then they just drip on down the side. Dyson now comes out with the paperless sink over the trough, and it actually has air that comes out of it. Pretty loud, makes a lot of people jump from time to time, and they're not quite sure what to do with it. But it saves about $1,500 in paper towels every single year, and it's also very green in that sense that we're not killing any trees and just using the air to dry our hands. And then we also have set up a little area here for people to make coffee. We have a soda stream here. We also have all the silverware that you need, cups, plates. Actually, we've got these really funky edged glass Winthrop glasses that I just got from Robin's Nest, so thank you, Robin's Nest. And of course, a refrigerator here for people to bring their lunch and heat it up in the microwave. Got a bunch of board games. Sometimes we do board game nights in the space as well, so it's not only just about work, it's also just sometimes to relax and get to know one another here. So we'll bust out a board game every once in a while in the evening. And then lastly, we have our little nook over here, which is under construction, but soon there will be a giant 55-gallon fish tank over there as a nice little spot for people to go in and have a coffee and get some work done. So that's the space. I hope you enjoy it, and we do tours any day. You can just write us at info@incubatecoworking.com, schedule a tour, and you can have a trial day down here to try it out. Thank you.
We're trying to fit in a lot. We're all excited that we hit the 20-year mark. And it would be really close to this date because it was the October meeting. I happened to see a note on the library door the day before in saying that this event would occur the next day. And I thought, that sounds good. So I came to the meeting, at the end of which I went up to Jeanette and said, I loved this. This was great. But she talked about there'd be 4 or 5 big meetings during the year. And I said to her, that's not enough for me. I want more poetry than that. And she said, well, then why don't you start a chapter? And I said, okay, what do I do? And she said, well, you need 3 people. Well, at the back of the room, Rini was talking to someone. It turned out to be Cora, who was Cora Ott. So I ran down to them and I said, we can start a chapter. You're in, right? You're both in? And so I came back to this and said, we're starting a program, we're starting a thing.
And 20 years later, she's still doing it.
And so we're so excited that today. And we meet on the 2nd and 4th Friday, year-round. We sometimes take off for Christmas and Thanksgiving and that sort of thing, but essentially we're a year-round group. We do have a couple of other members who could not be here today, and they're 2 men. So that's the story as I recall it. And so we just love Waterfront Crew Poets. And the crew came from C for
Chelsea.
Chelsea, R for Revere, E for East Boston, and W, of course, for Winthrop. And at the beginning, we did attract people from all of those communities. But as time has gone on, it's mostly Winthrop now and Fitchburg. So that's actually the end of my story as to how things started. So I'm very happy to be here. I will tell you a lot has changed in 20 years. We won't go into that.
Thank you.
So we're still here and enjoying it. Okay, you next. Next is Rini, who this group, this Waterfront Crew Poets, could not exist without her. She is here, there, and everywhere. She's essentially the secretary, but she's much, much more than that. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Okay, before we begin with the poems, I wanted to alert you to the desk in back. And it's a display desk, and they have pictures and a timeline, a summary of accomplishments that's been done over the 20 years, and also the books that were published. So when we take a break, feel free to go over to the table, browse through the pictures, and take a timeline. Okay, so this is the first poem. It's by Louis Picciulo. He could not make it today, unfortunately. And he wrote this special for this event. Celebration. Crew poets look back on 20 years. Mountains of words, untethered, we climbed. Curiosity, never fixed on a single spot. Our old gold poems seek fresh air, momentary illusions. Today we celebrate lifelines of memory. Welcome to our fold. Next reader is Patricia.
Thank you. Thank you. Some of you may remember The Bees and the Boy. It was a poem I read at the very first meeting 20 years ago. Some of you might remember it. I walked by a resplendent garden one morning in June with a 4-year-old by my side, happily skipping along beside me, jumping across thin cracks in the sidewalk. The boy suddenly stopped to look at the flowers. He turned to stare at black-eyed Susans near blue lady lupines, nodding at him. Over at plump pillows of impatience, a brilliant kaleidoscope of color. The bees must be very sad, very happy, he said. Thank you. We walked by that house one day in autumn. Spent blossoms had withered, then fallen down, lying atop yellow-stained newspaper, thrown away muddy brown coffee cups. The bees must be very sad, said the boy, and the little child shall lead.
And this poem is, the last poem was found in our book, Collected Poems, and this poem is also, and this won the Thomas Scott Senior Memorial Award 2008 second prize. And it's a concrete poem. It's a shape, so those that can see it, it's in the shape of a candle. Gratitude of the candle. I lie in waiting for life's joys, births, special days, weddings and parties. I witness family and friends' meetings, hear their laughter and clink of glasses, feel excitement in the air. I shine bright, content to have a purpose. As I become used, shrink, shorten, curl, shed tears of melting wax, I illuminate paths and feel the burn. Next reader is Esther Fitch.
My poem is also from our book entitled Collected Poems up there. And the title is Landmark, and it was written for one of our Friday meetings where the assignment was to write about a local or area landmark. Sorry. On slow descent from Logan skies, Point Shirley's narrow strand appears. Small houses edged along its cove, small boats moored seaward of their piers. Landward is Winthrop's massive hill, round water tower upon its crown. Below, an ocean shoreline scene abuts this landmark of our town. Broad painted bands encircle it, in our country's colors three, viewed locally from shores around, and by ship crews a sail at sea. These colors first did celebrate our nation's bicentennial, and then in year 2010, our tower's own centennial. Katrina Donovan will read next.
Thank you. So in addition to the book, Collected Poems, that Mimi mentioned and Esther did, that their poems that they just read were in, we also had an exhibit a few years back called Poetry Drawn from Our Past, in which we pulled things from the archives here at the Winthrop Library and wrote poems inspired by that. So my poem is one of those from that exhibit that we had. Letters by Water and Wireless. In colonial times, months would go by ere a gentleman's inquiry received his lady's reply. Thus, an accepted proposal sometimes arrived weeks after the poor gentleman had died. Today, text messages cross over waves in the air with conversational flow affected by who types faster. The lady's answer, no, to the question, are you busy, comes a beat after he's sent, will you marry me? Thank you. And our next reader is actually our newest poet in the group, Sandy Jonix-Schiff.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. And it's my pleasure to read a poem by the late Babe Giangregorio called The Turn. And it was published in the book The Soundings by the Winthrop Pool Poets in 2003. The Turn. He enters the ballroom with the crowd. I'll sit as coy as can be, hope he will notice me. I believe summarily he looks my way and smiles. Do I look my best? Walking towards me, oh yes, definitely yes. I remember the past, the flame burns so bright. What didn't I see so long ago? Try to make it so right. Slowly he is closer. Goodness, conscience guide me. Sadness prevails, he turns. He has chosen the girl beside me. Thank you. Our next reader will be Rini.
This poem is by the late Cora Ott. She was a member of Waterfront Crew Poets for many years. She was in the education field, and she researched her family genealogy all over the world. She liked to write poetry about her travels and her life experiences. Transformation. I am a mere lump of coal, traces of my origins wherein your forefathers disappeared into dark, carnivorous abyss. To release my morphic dust, excavate me, bring me to the surface, so that all may see and benefit from my destruction. But I will not be destroyed. I will snuggle here safely, away from the grasping hands of man, burrow deeply into my shelter, hidden from the world's eyes, until I become what I was called to be, a diamond sparkling in the sun.
Oh, beautiful.
The next reader is Katrina Donovan.
So we've talked of a few of our members who have passed. This is a former crew member who is still living, Joe Neville. Some of you may know him. He was part of the group for years, and he was the master of the twist. This one is called The Bus. Comfy bed, sleepy eyes, but now it's time to rise. The bus won't wait. Egg, French toast, or pancake? Not today. It's too late. The bus won't wait. Tossed dishes, time to run. They can wait to be done. The bus won't wait. Down the street in a flash, dodge puddle and some trash. The bus won't wait. Here I stand in a gale, a cold wind up my tail. The damn bus is late. Thank you. And our next reader, again, will be Sandy Jonick-Schiff.
Thank you. I will read a poem by Alan Schwartz. Unfortunately, he can't make it today, but this was published in the current Collected Poems book of 2015. Lights are on, no one's home. Breeze wafts the gauze curtains of the body's skin. Mine flies off with the singing bird, and you, nowhere to be found. Gaze out the windows of an empty house on a universe of stars. Thank you. The next reader is Esther.
This poem is by the late Tony Majahad, and in the 8 years as of this month that I've been in the group, Tony was here during most of that, and all that time he was fighting chronic illness, but he was always upbeat, he was always generous and friendly and sweet, and this poem is in the Collected Poems book. Summer winds blow through the leaves of the hardwood tree, bending the boughs gently over the slow, silent flow of the Charles. Warm rains cool the sun-scorched soil around the tree's trunk, while its roots drink from the earth in a whisper only the winds can hear. And Sandy will be reading again.
This one is one of mine, written in 2015, but I did a little revision after I joined the group. Change. Looks like time is rushing by my window, but no, it's just the snow blowing by. Sounds like someone's playing music, but no, it's just the wind howling high. Feels like the world is changing. It is, and let's enjoy it as we lie. Thank you. And again, Esther.
So this also was written for the Collected Poems book, and it was originally untitled and listed as untitled, but maybe it should be titled Poetry. A metered flow delights the ear as rhythmic words excite the tongue. A thoughtful theme inspires the mind as shared emotion moves the heart. Clear images reflect the soul. Thank you.
Esther, was that one of yours?
Yeah,
Nice.
thank you.
So that is our program
Nice.
today.
Very nice.
I hope you enjoyed it. We prayed for sun. We weren't heard.
You'll have to write a sunny poem.
A sun poem. We had many more members during these 20 years, but we knew we had to make a decision, so we went only with the people that have now left us and gone to heaven. So I hope you enjoyed it.
Definitely to heaven.
You think? So I hope you enjoyed hearing those as well. We did publish 2 books, and you heard a lot about them during these recitations. We're very proud of that. We're very proud of having done 2 books. I think it's almost time for us to do another one. You'll hear from, you'll be telling some of the things that we've done.
No, it's finished.
We're not,
We're
okay.
gonna do the workshop
Okay,
next.
see, you know, I just want to stay up here.
Stay as long as you want.
We were so excited about this day, so I don't want it to be over. Any questions? Any questions?
We'll get to the governor.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
What a way to celebrate Poetry Month. Across the United States, October 15th is National Poetry Day, and we have a proclamation from our governor, which most state poetry societies do try to get. And there can be only one state poetry society, and we are it. Yes. I'm going to ask Katrina to read, because she has such a beautiful reading voice, the proclamation from the governor issued that we celebrate National Poetry Day.
All right. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, a proclamation. Whereas poetry is the language of the soul, and whereas words on a page follow the rhythm of emotion, providing a universal language of unspoken feelings, and whereas the Bay State landscape has inspired a diverse group of visionary poets, including Emily Dickinson, Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, Ralph Waldo Emerson, E.E. Cummings, Edgar Allan Poe, Anne Sexton, Sylvia Plath, and many others whose work continues to enchant and inspire readers around the globe. And whereas during the month of October, the Massachusetts State Poetry Society Incorporated, an educational and literary organization dedicated to the writing and appreciation of poetry, is honoring poets of all generations and reminding the citizens of the Commonwealth of the value and pleasure of poetry. Now, therefore, I, Charles D. Baker, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, do hereby proclaim October 15th, 2018 to be Poetry Day. And we urge all the citizens of the Commonwealth to take cognizance of this event and participate fittingly in its observance. Given at the Executive Chamber in Boston this 15th day of October in the year 2018 of the independence of the United States of America, the 243rd. By His Excellency Charles D. Baker, Governor of the Commonwealth, also signed Karen E. Polito, Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth, and William Francis Galvin, Secretary for the Commonwealth. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Wow.
Welcome to our solar open house. We have 19 solar panels on our roof, and they generate a fantastic amount of electricity for us, such that right now we have a credit with National Grid of $206. The credit for month to month fluctuates between, I don't know, $150 to $250. Sometimes it's been as high as $300.
Less in the winter because there's less sunlight.
Right.
More in the summer because there's more sunlight.
Right, but we have been negative the whole year. In other words, we have not paid an electric bill in over a year. And over the 7 years we've had the panels
We paid twice.
since August of 2011, we've paid.
I think we had a $25 bill and a $22 bill. That was it in 7 years.
Plus, right now we have a credit of over 200, so we're still way ahead. I have a lot of literature here for anyone who is interested in going solar. But right now, I'll take you to the meters. Okay, so this is our meter that shows our electricity usage. It's hard to see, but if you look at it closely, it's at 96,371 kilowatt hours, I think that is. It started out at 100,000 kilowatt hours, so that shows that we have put over about 4,000 kilowatt hours over the lifetime of this meter back into the grid, which is consistent with us having that credit on our electric bill. Okay, hi, so this is our all electric car. It's a Ford Focus electric. We got it in 2013, and we plug it in right here into the wall. We had an outlet, 120 volt outlet put in right here, and the car charges through this cord overnight. We could have had a 240 volt installation put in, but we decided that we didn't really need it, and it's been fine. It just charges overnight. If you have a 240 volt connection, then the car would charge faster. So the range on the car is between 70 miles and 100 miles. So it's great as a commuter car. It's great for a two-car family because if we have to go farther, we just use our second car, a conventional car. Otherwise, we have never paid a cent to fill it up because it's all included in our electric bill, which we don't pay already. So what my oldest daughter recently got her license, and she told me that her friends said to her that now that she has her license and she's going to be driving them all around, they thought, well, they're going to have to start chipping in for gas. And she said, no, she was very happy to tell them that they would not have to chip in for gas because we don't pay for gas. And she's not even going to have to pay to drive it around. So she's very happy about it. I would also say that an electric car is a fantastic choice for an elderly person. Right now, my husband has to take my mother-in-law's car to fill up the tank when she needs gas. She never drives anywhere but in Winthrop. So if she had an electric car, she could just plug it in, would never have to worry about getting gas.